What this is this is a stream of vengeance. It is going to levels where I previously couldn't beat them, or didn't have the time, or something like that, and I'm just gonna fucking suffer through. If I beat them, great. If not, well, ugh. And very easily, I'm going through my bookmarks. And this will all be a lot of me trying to remember levels. Jesus Christ, okay. So, start off with is Hard Door Duckbag. A level which I was playing earlier today and was able to beat. Luai is currently streaming as well, so I'd be fairly surprised if they pop by, but, you know, would not be said. A magnificent start. So I was debating whether or not this would be a stream where I'd drink each time I die as well, because that is a little tempting to do. However, with a level like this, it probably wouldn't work very well. Or I said a levels like this. It's something I'd love to do again. I'd love to what I did last time, which was I did a bunch of random level playlists working my way up to really difficult ones while drinking each time, and that was actually really fun. But in this particular sense, I will be drinking because, you know, one must. Because it's fun. That's it. That's my sole motivation. Because it is fun and perhaps even a bit entertaining. So I shall drink my mystery drink. And I shall, who knows, actually. It was built for its one live stream, so as such, to, you know, mimic that as well as possible, it just has no checkpoints. Alright, I should just jump. So at this point, I have everything I need. If I die, it's because I've done something stupid. That's generally a lot of the stuff with this level, is that no particular challenge is too difficult. Yeah, it was 4. So this gem is a bastard. Oh, you're fucking kidding me. Oh, Luai. What is this? I don't know if it is a diagonal package jump, in the sense that I don't know if you can get the height you'd need off of it with it. But I'm more than happy to go over and have a look. No, I should have prepared like a talking point or, you know, something like that. Something to just ramble on about for a while. I don't know. I mean, I could always ramble on about things. Which would be both positive and negative, I suppose. You know what? Fuck it. So, you know what I'm gonna talk about? I'm gonna talk about the fucking Leaving Cert Physics curriculum. So, there's a reason. It works, okay? So with the Irish system, right? We have our last exam, one we generally do in school. It's called the Leaving Cert, which is you do it kind of at the age of 17 or 18. You know, you do that, and then you get your points, and then you can go to like college and all that kind of stuff. You know, so it's like I think it's like your A levels or something in fucking the English system or whatever. I don't know. But it's our Leaving Cert, you know. So you basically study it from about 16 to 18. That's when you're doing and preparing for your Leaving Cert. So at the moment, I am doing a master's in post-primary education with the aim to become a physics and maths teacher. Did I not do that bloody thing? God damn. Sorry. So with that in mind, I have been going through quite a lot of the physics curriculum and how physics itself has physics and maths. You know, how they're taught, how they're perceived, all that kind of stuff. I suppose the first point of note here is that maths is generally perceived horribly. You bring up maths anywhere and people will be like, you know, they'll be like, oh, I didn't do well in maths. They'll talk about how, you know, they hated maths or how maths, you know, isn't for them and so on and so forth. Which, I mean, I have opinions on. My first opinion on math, you know, math itself. God, Jesus Christ, this level. My first opinion on maths kind of comes in around the lines of anyone can do it, given effort. Which is the issue with math. sure, some people might have an easier time grasping concepts, but, you know, at like that kind of level, you know, everyone can get to it. Well, and then, you know, you have your little asterisks for, you know, people with like, is it dyspraxia? That's the number issues. It's dyscalculia. Which, I mean, fair enough. That is a reasonable thing to be like, oh, fair enough. Or people who do find it, you know, challenging and struggle with it, you know, I do understand that, you know, there does need to be supports in case for it. But, you know, it is something that slightly irritates me in the sense of talking to, you know, even my own family. You know, my mother and stuff is a special needs assistant, so she's fine, and I have family who are also maths teachers. But, like, I have a sibling who's, like, 13, I think? And her thoughts of maths is that, oh, it's awful and all that kind of stuff. Maths isn't really well taught at school. Some teachers will just throw material at you and yell at you if you do not as they wish. Exactly, and that's the problem. Like, there's an issue with how maths is taught. Because, especially with maths, if you just tell a student, learn this, they're not going to, like, they might, if they're a good student, they might, you know, put the effort in themselves to learn off, you know, what does this actually mean? They might do what I did in all of my exams in my Leaving Cert, however many years ago now. Sorry, I'm saying that as if that was a very long time. That's more like 5 years ago now. And what I did was I was a rote memorizer. So I just learned everything off. Did really well in biology, because that entire exam is just how well can you remember these things. Didn't do very well in maths, didn't do very well in physics, because they're not really subjects where rote memorization is built for. They're kind of the subjects that you do best when you understand what you're actually doing. Like, even now, if you ask me, oh, you know, given this quadratic formula, what's the shape of the graph? I can't tell you shit, I don't know. And I'm not supposed to be a fucking maths teacher. It's a problem with, like, those traditional methods of teachers standing at the board talking through the material, is that they don't really work. Or at the very least, they work for students who are already going to be good at doing maths because they'll put time and effort into doing so. You know, they'll have the support, they might have the supports at home to help them do so. They might, you know, come from a family who can hire a tutor to do maths for them. They might be naturally inclined to think, oh, I'm really interested in maths, so they might be more willing to put time and effort into understanding what this teacher has taught them really badly. But the issue is that, you know, all students deserve a good education, and maths is honestly just one of those skills which everyone, you know, either requires or even just a base understanding, because it's something we do use every day. Even I'm just trying to figure out, oh, I need to get this, you know, here in this time, you know, what time do I leave at? Or, you know, even just simple in the heads maths, you know, just to give people those kind of problem solving skills and blah 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 blah. So anyways, onwards to physics, because I don't want to talk about math all that much. I want to talk about physics. So my big issue with the Leaving Cert physics curriculum, my whole setup has been for the Leaving Cert physics curriculum, is that the curriculum lacks wonder. It lacks any aspect of, hey, some of these ideas are absolutely fucking revolutionary. It just glances over them. Like, they talk about the fucking photoelectric effect, you know, which is one of those big issues leading into, you know, quantum physics and shit. And they're just mostly kind of ignored. Oh shit, I'm here, okay. Get gem. Get sprint. Can I do a different level? Can I, like, move on to a different, really difficult level that I don't have to spend the first, like, 2 minutes doing the same things over and over again? Like, can I move on and come back to it later, and we'll just pretend this never happened? But yeah, no, school isn't adjusted for most students. Kind of, thank you, perfect, I'm off. Kind of, like, there's a whole bunch of different ideas as to what's the best way to teach a student. Personally, what's this? No, thank you. Keycard hot magic. Fine. Fuck it, salt bearer. Bane of my existence. But yeah, there are big issues in the education system. If I was coming in here, If I was coming in here and telling you that no, the education system as it is broken, then to be honest, it'd be a fucking hack. Like, there's big issues with it. Like, you can make arguments about how really what the schooling system is for, or what it's been for historically. Jesus fucking hell. What it's been for historically. Oh no, this level. Oh no, Saltbearer. Historically, what the education system has been for is more about getting workers the education level they need so that they can go in and, you know, enter the workforce. You know, like, you need people to, you know, not even like higher education. I'm talking like just lower level. You know, like, you want someone to, you know, work in a factory. Well, okay, well, here are the skills this person needs to fit into society. Perfect. We'll, you know, go put them in school for this. But really, what you might be arguing the school is doing is getting them used to a regimented lifestyle, in the sense that they go and they do this for this many hours a day. They do what the teacher tells them, because that's what they're used to. Because this is just how life is you go off and you do what the higher classes want you to do. When really, you know, education should be about giving students even just the fucking interest, the desire to go on and do what they want with their life. You know, you shouldn't, if you have the belief that, you know, oh, every student you ever, you know, teach, they should, like, go into higher education. No, higher education isn't for everyone. Which, as someone who quite likes higher education, pains me a little to say, but it isn't. Like, you know, with trades, if they don't require it, then it's equally as valid not to. But anyways, back to physics, because otherwise I'm going to go on tangents forever, which, to be honest, is probably the best for this kind of thing, but I'm happy to go on tangents as it is. So, the lack of whimsy in the physics curriculum is what I was particularly giving out about. The lack of wonder. The lack of, holy shit, these ideas are revolutionary. One of my big things with it is, which I'm pretty certain is talked about in the Leaving Cert, it's Rutherford's gold foil experiment. And, because I'm taking no assumptions here, I'll go off and I'll just talk about it anyways. So, what Rutherford's gold foil experiment, so you have this guy, Ernest Rutherford, right? Famous physicist, you know, easy peasy in the US, whatever. And at the time, there were basically lots of arguments and discussions about the model of the atom, but what it could be. You know, no one really had any ideas. They knew certain things about it, like they knew there were, you know, positive and negative charges. You know, they knew, they had rough ideas about the mass, perhaps. They knew that I had electrons, you know, because they had, like, this guy Millikan, he did an oil drop experiment where he charged up. Basically, he got a charge on a droplet of oil. He suspended it between two electric fields, and you could measure the weight of that and do some maths to figure out the mass of the electron, or the charge of the electron off of it. I've done it myself. We did it in my undergrad, and it was fun. But with Rutherford's gold foil experiment, you know, he wanted to... Basically, there was no reason for him to be doing... Oh, Jesus Christ, I forgot about this. There was no reason for him to be doing that kind of experiment. In the sense that the way the experiment was set up, everything expected from that experiment was that it would confirm the model of the atom at the time, called the plum pudding model, and that it, you know, it wouldn't be revolutionary. You know, so much so that, to be honest, it's kind of surprising they bothered doing this kind of experiment at all. So, you know, they had the plum pudding model of the atom, which is that the atom was just basically a big ball of positive charge with small negative electrons embedded in the surface, like a plum pudding. So with the gold foil experiment itself, what Rutherford had, and I say Rutherford, but it was his PhD students doing it. Because with a lot of physics, you'll find that, or science in general, you'll find that as a lot of people do the work and then their supervisors take credit. Or their supervisors will interpret the findings and go about it that way. But yeah. So the gold foil experiment. Basically, Rutherford took, basically he got a sheet of gold foil. Gold particularly was chosen because it has heavy atoms, and they stick together. So you can have a really, really thin sheet of gold foil, almost like a couple of atoms thick, and it would still, be strong enough to suspend and that kind of stuff. And what he did was he had basically an electron gun, which is a fancy way of saying, an emitter. Basically some source that is just throwing out electrons in front of it, these little particles in a straight line, basically. And the goal was that the electrons would pass through the gold foil, and that they'd see basically they'd detect the electrons because they would hit a screen, around the back of the foil, which would light up and then it'd flash. They're called scintillations. That's it. That's the entire experiment. The expected thing would be that there would be a light scattering, but very minimal. As in there would be a tiny bit of electrons, going slightly to the left or right, because they'll basically pass through the model. But, they won't actually do anything. There's not much they can do. The experiment itself didn't go that way. What actually happened... I feel like I'm just giving you guys blue physics balls, but what actually happened is that the electrons, some of them went on as forward, but some of them, they bounced off at angles, much bigger than expected, so say... Let me just actually say, your Jesus Christ, screen. Go back to where you were. So your screen is here, right? So trying to figure out my camera's there, right? So screen here. No, this is your gold foil, right? So we expect that most electrons will go through just straight. My hands are going to be useless here. Most electrons go straight through. Small scattering. What actually happened is there was a lot of big scattering, and also electrons that bounced back. In the sense that they went forward, hit the gold foil, and either came directly back or came back at heavy angles. Which, if you're just hearing that now, you might think to yourself, oh, that's not too special, what's so, it's confusing about that. So there's a quote from Rutherford, afterwards, where he's talking about the experiment. And this would have been in the 1920s or so. Where he says that, basically the equivalent of it would be if you took a shotgun or a pistol or something. No, I think it was a cannon. If you took a cannon and you fired it at a piece of tissue paper and the cannonball, advanced back at you. That's the kind of equivalent, just abject confusion and all of that occurred. This kind of really out there, made no sense with the way physics was understood at the time. That kind of, that kind of issue. And what Rutherford did was he got his data, he got his students to replicate the experiment a bunch of times, and he basically locked himself away for a while to research it. To basically go through and go, oh, right, this is the data I have. What in the ever-loving fuck does it mean? What does it imply? How does this make sense? And... You meaning the backfiring? Sorry, that last section is the difficult one. It's where I got stuck on last time I was doing this level. yeah, Rutherford basically locked himself away for a few, I think it was 2-3 years, until he could understand the data and draw, some conclusions for it. And that's where the first ideas of, well, actually, atoms are mostly empty space comes from that. It comes from this model of the atom being completely and utterly fucked up by a fairly simple experiment, and it being like, oh, god damn, why did I pick this level? Sorry, this is the furthest I have ever gotten. Oh, I see. I don't see. What am I doing? Oh, they stay up unless the key hits its target. So unless it lands in the right position, there's not much I can do. Oh, checkpoint! Fuck yes. Okay. Do I need that key? Like, I definitely get the idea, but fucking hell, it's hard to pull off. Okay. Wait, is this it? Is this the exit? Holy shit, it is! Fuck yeah, it's done! Haha, success! Now beat Duckbag's time, even better! Bum 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 bum. That actually does make sense in the idea of anytime I go, oh no, this will be fine, it turns into hell. Maybe before I do like hard things, I should just preface it by go like, this is going to be really easy. Right. There's another salt bearer level here though. I don't know if I have it in me right now. A 10-minute time by intuition does not bear well. Let me just pop into it briefly, just to check and see. Oh, this level. No, I can do this level. Hold on. It's just gonna take fucking forever, but I can get it done. Only reason why I couldn't do it last time was I both ran out of time and was starting to get really annoyed with it. See, now I remember why I hated this level. Or not, hated is a strong word, because I played similar levels like this, but more why I quit. I never got past this part. For the main reason that this section started to get to me, I started getting like really warm and I was like, I'm done. And now I can't do it. Or I could do it, but it was just going to take forever. But the problem is, it's a zipper level. I can't not be at a zipper level. That would be, you know, it would just be illegal. Success! Fucking hell, what? Guess I suck. Guess I suck. Just tisk. I wonder if this would have worked better as a video rather than a stream. Well, let's have a handful watching someone fail over and over. till they eventually succeed. God damn. And by eventually, I mean maybe never, but... Okay, I'm out. I'm done. I'm just finishing the level. I'm not risking it. I'm not going for anything else. I'm just finishing. Beaten intuition time. Woohoo! What you think? Would you look at that? That's 2 levels beaten successfully. 2. The Zap Zone. Just another zipper level? Oh, did I just run out of time for this, maybe? Yeah, I think so. Just takes a matter of getting back into the move. Getting into the movement, getting through the whole shebang. Easy peasy. Now that's going to be a bit of a difficult jump, but... time, effort, and zipper. Oh no! It deletes it. There we go. Maybe that's what I should do after this. I should just go through and, you know, record all the the victories and reactions to victories and be like, yes! And nope. Oh, yes. Make an incredibly boring YouTube video best of all. Whoop. Fucking what? Another checkpoint? No! How could you, my boy? I'm gonna massacre my boy like that. See, I mean, I suppose even from a design perspective, the last section of the builds gets difficult. In the sense that it's very difficult to control yourself doing this kind of movement. So even getting the... I swear to shit, if this kills me, I will cry. Success! Success! And 5 minutes. Not bad, not bad, if I do say so myself. They do. Right, I can do this next. What I will do first is... Oh, hey Frenzy, how are you? I'm just gonna take a short break. Was just a... and stretch my legs a little. Back to the impossible. Let me move this back to what it usually is. Which is more... It's not great, but sure. That's good. Oh, that's lovely to hear, Frenzy. Hope you've been having like a good... Well, actually it's August, so I hope you had a good July. Right, it's jump you can't press. More in the way of you have no idea what you're doing. You know, you kind of figure out on the fly, right, this is what I have to do for the next step. So I was really just trial and error and... How does one get that in time? So, is this the kind of, like, thing where it's just mindless enough I can just talk normally? I think so. So, what I shall now talk about is the tale, you know, a story from physics that I quite like. I currently have no facts about and no citations, just something I remember reading in a book about 4 or 5 years ago. So, any inaccuracies I'm blaming on that. So, it's about William Röntgen, or Röntgen. It's a German name, it's the O with the umlaut over it, the double O, the double dots like. So I think it's Röntgen, because it draws out the vowel. Or is that a fada and I'm just being an idiot? Oh well. So he was a German physicist, anyhow. Whoop, 2 seconds there. Let me just die here in a very stupid way, and I shall get back to it. Shit, I pressed it. So, he was a German physicist anyways, and he did a lot of work with like photogenic plates and all of that. You know, and you know, he was practicing with like, I think it was just at the 1930s or so. Crap. And so what he was doing was he was messing around with like some, you know, photographic sources, you know, I think a bit of radioactive sources. Maybe I'd have to check that myself, to be honest. But yeah, basically he was messing around with like photographic plates. You know, you exposed them to sunlight and they develop. But what happened is he left the photographic plates basically in a drawer, and above them he accidentally left a radioactive sample. Well, so it's not classically radioactive, because they're X-rays, but he left a sample, you know, an X-ray producing sample there. He didn't know they were producing X-rays, but they were. So when he went down the next day or whatever it was to check, to, you know, basically grab his photographic plates for whatever experiment he was doing or whatever he wanted to, he expected them to be blank, because he had left them in a dark room in a drawer with no sunlight. They shouldn't have developed. But he took them out and they were developed. Didn't seem to make sense. So he tried it again, and yeah, they developed once more. And he was like, oh, this doesn't really make sense. They're developing on their own. And he thought to himself, well, that's a bit odd. You know, he did some experiments. He realized it was it seemed that it was whatever source was nearby, you know, whatever he had, like sleep above them or whatever, seemed to be doing the job for him. And he was like, well, that's a bit, you know, if I come to, you know, my colleagues and I say, hey, I've just discovered this new source of radiation, or this new, like, this new thing, they're gonna go, no, that sounds dumb. So what he did, because he also didn't really believe it was true, or believe that he had discovered anything at all, he was like, there must be some other explanation for it, is he basically just locked himself away in a workshop, testing every possible alternative he could think of, until eventually he was forced to conclude that what he had discovered was, in fact, a new form of radiation. The X-ray, if you will. Which, to be honest, I just admire like the scientific integrity not even integrity, but the process he went through of, no, this might be something new, but I don't believe it. I don't believe this whatsoever. I'm gonna test the ever-loving fuck out of this. You know, explore every single other possible option until I'm forced to conclude that this is something. I'm forced to conclude that this is, in fact, a new source of radiation. It was interesting. There's also a story that later on, you know, he realized that, you know, if you like got the source of radiation and you know, put like your hand between it and a plate, it would develop a picture of your hand. Because, you know, the radiation penetrates bone. Well, it doesn't penetrate bone, but it penetrates everything else. So you'd end up with a picture of your hand on the plate. You know, he there's a story that says he went and he showed this to his wife. You know, he brought her into his workshop, whatever, and he was like, yeah, put your hand on this plate. And she did, and he exposed it to X-rays and let the place develop. And, you know, she sees on the graph, the photograph of plate underneath her hand, that yes, her hand has developed, you know, this, you know, the bone shape and stuff like that. And again, according to the story, she freaks the fuck out. She, like, you know, crosses her heart, or crosses herself, you know, blames the devil and, like, leaves, or she screams, or something along those lines. I'd have to, again, check a source and actually get a source for that, but no, it's just one of those cool things about physics that, again, are left out of, like, school and stuff. Boop. 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 Oh no, what's this? How am I supposed to... Am I supposed to do like that? What? What? I feel like everything I knew about this level has been ruined. All my assumptions of doability have disappeared. God damn it, Lex. But yeah, overall, physics are great. I think more people should even just read about it or hear about it. Not even in the sense of, oh, you gotta do all this maths, which physics is just maths, you know. Like, really, the language of physics is maths. Which is both good and, I suppose, bad. But it's, you know, it is always interesting to see, you know, maths woven into the nature of the universe. Like your, you know, your Fibonacci sequence in snail shells. You know, all stuff like that. All these natural phenomena, these, you know, the golden ratio, that number that keeps coming up over and over. I couldn't tell you where because I haven't looked into it whatsoever. I'm being incredibly unsociable here by not providing any sources whatsoever about anything I'm talking about. But, you know, 'tis what it is. What am I supposed to do with this? Like, if I run into it as I normally would. I you know, just bounce back. I don't get the height for it. Am I supposed to use the cube to get that bit of extra
Something
height?
more
Like,
like
I do this, and then I walk off. I think so. That's it. That's the level. It's finished. Woohoo! Success.